we're having this show today because the Forbes list just came out for the top 10 actresses in Hollywood. And I would just like to run them down to you so you'll know who the top 10 actresses are in Hollywood and what they made last year. Not over the span of their careers, just what they made for 2017. This is the list. Emma Stone is number 1 at $26 million. Jennifer Aniston, number 2 at $25.5 million. Jennifer Lawrence, number 3 at $24 million. Melissa McCarthy, $18 million at number 4. Number 5, Mila Kunis, and please forgive me if I'm not saying her name right, but she made $15.5 million.
Who is she?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Number 6, Emma Watson made $14 million. Number 7, Charlize Theron made $14 million. Number 8, Kate Blanchett made $12 million. Number 9, Julia Roberts made $12 million. Number 10, Amy Adams made $11.5 million.
And that was the 2017 list of Forbes' highest paid actresses in full.
Now, people are saying, how come there are no women of color on this list? Well, let's pull up the list that has an abundance amount of women of color on any of the Forbes lists as the top black actresses in Hollywood.
But before that,
come on,
let's take it back to how this even came to your attention.
Okay, so, and I must give this sweet baby credit. A young lady tweeted me, and what she actually made a tweet, a general tweet, but she tagged me in it. And she tagged along the Forbes list as the highest paid actresses in Hollywood. And her tweet went, the next time y'all think Atmo Worldwide needs to sit down and shut up, just take a look at this list. She's standing for a reason. And I'm paraphrasing, but I had to tweet her back, can you feel this hug? And she tweeted me back, I cannot sit back and watch them vilify you when all you're saying is the truth. And when all you are saying is the truth, you can't be quiet. And that's why we do dedicate this show to Mr. Dick Gregory, because I've been watching his interviews here lately, and that man didn't give a fuck. If it was the truth, he was not going to back down from it. So when you see a list like this, number 10, Amy Adams, is at $11.5 million. Do you know that would be one of the biggest paydays for a black woman actress in Hollywood? If we got anywhere near that number, we would be considered, baby, a goddamn Rockefeller. Not a fella, a Rockefeller.
A Rockefeller. Goddamn Rockefeller.
If we got anywhere near that number at $11.5 million, and that's in 1 year, some of us won't make that over the span of our careers. And I'm talking about Oscar award winners. I'm talking about Oscar nominees. I'm talking about Golden Globe winners, Golden Globe nominees. Women of color, we won't see that $11.5 million. And if we do, we consider that huge, huge. So when we say, is there racism in Hollywood? Well, what do y'all think?
And feel free to give us a call, 448-322-2963. Share with us your thoughts and concerns and feelings, and we love to hear them.
You know, Daddy, and I want to address this because it's on me to address it. Because when you read some of the comments in the room, and we automatically think that it is white to black racism in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. We automatically think, oh, those white studio heads won't give us the right opportunities, and some of that is true. There are some white studio heads that's like, fuck that, we're going to keep it the way it was in old Hollywood. Make them famous, don't make them rich. But let me pull your coattail to something. There are some black ones that do the exact same thing. There are some black ones that are the biggest racists in Hollywood with some of the comments they make and some of the situations that they know they put us in, and they sit back and they say absolutely nothing. So when we want to pass it off and say, oh, it's the white executives that's not given the opportunity, but then you have to look at Lee Daniels and you have to hear that man say, your husband's overbidding you. Overbidding you. Now, I was offered to play the grandmother in the Richard Pryor story. And the price that came with that was $300,000. Now, that's a big budget movie. And when we said we couldn't do that for that, he said, your husband's overbidding you.
Now understand, without going into specifics, that's less than she made for a movie like Roscoe Jenkins years prior, before she even won the Academy Award. But in the meantime, when he said that, and prior to, after she won the award, he said, on my next films, what? I gotta get paid, Mookie. I gotta get paid.
And see, with a place called Hollywood, y'all, sometimes we're so enamored with the flashing lights and with the red carpets and with the makeup and the hair, because I raised my hand, I was one of them. So when you first come into this place and you see the money that you're going to make, now it's more money than you've ever known anybody to make that you hang around with. Mm-hmm. But once you actually get into the business and you begin to realize how much money is being made and how much money you're being paid, that's a huge gap. So when we see this list of these 10 white actresses, and let me say this, it's not that they're not deserving. I'm not saying not one of these sisters on this list don't deserve their payday, because goddamn it, if they putting in the numbers, you deserve it.
Get it.
However, you would have to say, what's different with these sisters than Viola Davis? What's different with these sisters than Taraji P. Henson?
And Taraji P. Henson not only kills in the movies, but she's a hybrid assassin, because she's murdering on TV and in film. And we live in a day and age where they do not like to acknowledge when you accomplish something, and it seems as if this is true when you are a person of color, because what many people do not realize is this: there is no other female comedian on the planet that has the resume that Monique has, where you are an Academy Award winner in the United States of America. You've won the equivalent of the British Academy Award in England, 40-some other awards, had a #1 sitcom on, #1 reality shows, hosted the Apollo, first woman in the history to host the Apollo, highest numbers in that realm. It goes on and on and on. But when you have an individual like that, and then you have the young lady from The Real saying that Monique should just be quiet, or you have a Miss Cheryl Underwood or a
Kim Whitley
who speaks to Oprah is God, what happens is one would beg the question, if Monique has accomplished this and sits in a rare air of being the only woman on the planet who has these accomplishments, what happens when your resume is not that unique and you are a person of color? Does that mean you can look to attain more or less? So when she's speaking up, and what is very rare under these sets of circumstances is when you have someone who accomplishes what she's accomplished, willing to speak up, it typically is the person who may not have done as much, who feels as if they don't have anything to lose to say anything about it. That's why I'm appreciative when you hear a LeBron speak up and say something in reference to it and use his voice, because you can't take his talents away. It's not going to be Get Out where you're going to brainwash him and he going to go into the sunken living room, because that basketball is just,
come on,
it's just a part of him. And until when he says go, when he says he's done, then he still ain't done, because there's still going to be more for him to do. So when you have someone like that, this is the reason why we dedicated this show to brother Mr. Dick Gregory, because you had an individual who was at the top, who elected to get and put entertainment to the side and be an activist for his community and share his wealth of knowledge. In the world of Hollywood, you have individuals like Will Packer,
come on,
who, if you pull up his name, it will say a producer known for taking low budget films and making high profits. The question one would pose is, where does the low budget go to, and where do the high profits go to?
Come on.
And at what point do we say, wait a minute, why would our films make $100 million?
Come on.
Like, what was it? It's Girls Trip?
Girls Trip made over $100 million. I'm sorry, Daddy.
No.
It made over $100 million. It was shot as low budget. Now, in my humble opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, Tiffany Haddish, our sister Queen Latifah, Regina Hall, Jada Pinkett Smith, they should have all become multi-millionaires off of that film. But because I'm in the game, and I'm in this business, here's what happens, y'all. Because there are some people listening and watching that you want to come to Hollywood. And I understand it because I was one of those young girls with big eyes that said, one day, this is how they get you. Listen, on this first one, it's low budget. They didn't really give us a budget. And when I say low budget, I'm talking about so low budget that the shit they serve you for food looks like mush. I'm talking about so low budget that you have a trailer that's pretty much the size of a locker room.
However, with that said, when you say so low budget, when they give you the number, you actually say, where is the budget going?
Daddy, where is the budget?
Where is the budget going? Because it's enough money in that budget for the trailers not to blow up. It's enough money in that for the trailers not to blow up.
It's so much money in it, my loves. It's so much money in it that when they have low budget films, the people that's in front of the camera, most times, more than not, especially when it comes to black films, and I have to say black films because that's how we separate it. When it comes to black films, we get the least amount of theaters, but goddamn it, we pulling in the money. Everyone knows that in the theaters, and everyone knows that about television. They know that with television, when you first start up a network, you have to get the black people because the black people bring in the numbers. If you notice, when the networks first start up, they're full of black shows. Then those black shows begin to taper off. The only network that started up that was not full of black shows but had to go to black shows was the OWN network. Go figure. Now, when her network first started up, she had Susie Orman, Rosie O'Donnell, and a lot of animal shit. Which I like the animal shit, but it was a lot of animal shit. Till somebody had to tap her and whisper and say, listen, you know it's niggas that bring in the numbers.
And the question one would ask is, do you think that in Oprah's heyday, she would have had a relationship with Tyler Perry based upon the type of work that he does? And this is no disrespect to the type of work that he does because, hey, listen, if it works, if it's funny, go do it. However, do you think that she would have had him on based upon who she had on during the course of those years? You had to be an incredible individual of color to have finally made it on there, or it was later on in her career when she started to acknowledge individuals who were of color to come onto the show. So when you start seeing things like this, you say to yourself, what role do we as black people, as African Americans play in our own destruction? Because it's not just white folks who are in charge that are making these decisions. It is us who are making these decisions by not saying anything. Just like if no one had to put a fuss up to what Donald Trump had said, he would not keep trying to correct himself. Because when you start hearing this man talking about we've got to love each other, that don't even sound right coming out his mouth. That don't even sound right. Not after you just spoke in a tone of violation of, yeah, when you're a star, you could just grab him by the pussy.
Come on.
Not by the butt. Not by the ass. No. Not by the tail.
Come on.
But by the vaginal area.
Pussy.
Also known as, in French, des poussées. Okay? Des poussées.
Pussy.
Okay? So when you see this, you say, what part do we play into this? And how, if we are speaking up and things are difficult to change, how would us being silent turn things around for us for the better?
And it won't. And here's the thing. When you have the three Mount Rushmores, when you have Oprah Winfrey, when you have Tyler Perry, and you have Lee Daniels. Now, when you have a man named Lee Daniels that says, listen, you're being overbidded, and it's not even, we're not talking $3 million, we was talking $300,000. Overbidding you. This is after I won it. When you have a man named Tyler Perry saying, I'll pay Taraji more than she's ever made, but are you going to pay her what she's supposed to get?
And this is in a private conversation, so don't go to YouTube looking for it.
No.
Because Monique said to her, well, the fact that you said you paid her more than she's ever gotten, they don't get no kudos with us. Are you paying her fairly? And when you going to come out and say the truth regarding Monique, Brother Tyler, because what you said to us on the phone was, we got the block too hot right now regarding Monique being difficult in that conversation. You said when you start promoting your movie, you were going to have that conversation. What I would ask you is to be kind enough to have that real conversation, because perhaps you, black man, who just got this big deal from my understanding, where now you're going to be doing content for, is it Viacom? BT? For Viacom. It's like you are in a position now where you're the man. So tell the truth. Exonerate your sister by simply saying it's real. How can she be difficult by not doing something that she was not contractually obligated to do? But everything that she was contractually obligated to do, she had done, which is the reason why we asked her to do more, because what she was obligated to do, she did so well, we were trying to get more for free. Tell the story.
And we're going to go to the lines, but as I name Lee Daniels, as I name Tyler Perry, see, you have a black woman that sat at the helm for years, and never once did that woman open her mouth and say there's inequality in the place called entertainment of Hollywood. There's inequality. She never opened her mouth to speak out. So when you got the three, as scared niggas would say, oh, they so powerful. When you got the powerful three that sit back and say, I'll pay you more than you ever made, but bitch, I'm not going to pay you what you're supposed to make.
Well, we didn't hear him call
No,
up
he
this.
didn't. That's my shit.
That's right.
Okay, I like the word.
Right.
When you got Lee Daniels sitting back saying, your husband is outbidding you, and you saying, well, what the fuck, yo? If Tyler tells me a nomination gonna get me 3 to 5, I won the motherfucker. Mm-hmm. But you want to say 300,000 is overbidding, and then you have a black woman that never opened her mouth until it became beneficial. Until now, I need y'all for ratings, and this is why, my sweet loves, in my humble opinion, with my loud ass mouth and I talk too much and all that shit, that's why we'll never make that goddamn list.
Let's go to the line.
Come on.